Hello everyone, it's Shannon here for Waffle Flower Crafts. In today's technique video, I'll be sharing one of my favorite techniques, which is letter substitution. I'll be using these Waffle Flower products today. First up is the brand new Pencil In stamp set. This is a really sweet set. It has cute little girls and boys, perfect for teacher thank you cards, teacher appreciation cards, which is what we're making today. This is the Pencil In matching dies. I'll be using those as well. My favorite alphabet set, this is the Cutaway Alpha stamp set, and I'll also be using some of the new dies. This is the A2 Nested Rectangles die. So I've already gone ahead and die cut with the largest die from the Nesting Rectangles die 1 set. That stitched border into that panel there, that die cuts a panel out and it also adds a beautiful stitch detail. And now I'm using my grid, my acetate grid here. I actually created this grid myself, but you can purchase this. I just did it with a ruler and a permanent marker, but I'm using this grid just to help me make sure everything's nice and straight. I use it a lot for sentiments, but what I'm using it right now is basically doing a pattern stamping technique because I want to cover this whole panel with these little school images from the Pencil In stamp set. I'm going to take all these small stamps from that Pencil In stamp set and arrange them in this lower right corner of my panel. And then once I get them all arranged inside that panel using that grid to help me make sure I stay within that quarter that I've segmented off, I'm going to ink these up with Waffle Flower's Coffee Loves Milk ink. It's a really beautiful soft brown. Basically, I'm creating a monotoned background for my sentiment. So I just inked it up with Coffee Loves Milk. I'm going to stamp it here once, and then I will rotate my panel. I'm going to rotate my panel at 180 degrees, and then I will ink all these stamps up again and stamp it again, and I'll have basically a half of this panel stamped. But I will have to rearrange these stamps, which I'll show you here in a second, to stamp the other unstamped portions. I really like this kind of pattern stamp. Normally when I do this, I stamp a pattern. But this time I just arranged the stamps randomly. So my goal here is just to fill up the space. But this is just a really great technique for when you want to create patterns, which I've done in past videos. But it's also a really great technique for when you just want to cover your panel with stamped images fairly quickly. So now I've arranged those same small stamps differently though, but in the lower left corner of my panel. And once I get them all arranged, I will fold my MISTI over and pick them up. You of course don't need a MISTI actually to do this. You can just arrange a whole bunch of small stamps on an acrylic block and stamp them. That would go really fast as well. I just like to use my MISTI because it makes sure I don't make any mistakes. If I do have to stamp again, I can just ink up the stamps and stamp another time. But again, you don't have to use your MISTI for this. You could just use an acrylic block. Just mount all those tiny stamps onto an acrylic block and use them as like one big stamp. And now I'm going to flip it again, or rotate I should say, 180 degrees again. And then I'm stamping that last section. And now I'll have my whole panel stamped, my whole background stamped, with no overlapping and no having to have a whole bunch of stamps mounted onto acrylic blocks. This is a really great way to get your background covered. Now moving on to stamping my images. So I'm going to grab the standing boy and girl. These cute little kids are holding pencils. I'm going to just position them here on some scrap paper and ink them up in Memento Tuxedo Black because I am going to do some Copic coloring, and Memento Tuxedo Black is a alcohol marker friendly ink. So just inking them up, stamping them, basic simple stamping. I'm going to do it one more time here just to make sure that my image is nice and bold and crisp, and then I will move on to my Copic coloring. Now that my images are stamped, I'm ready to color them in. I'm using my Copics to color these in today, and I am going to play some music. I do have the colors that I'm using on screen so you can follow along, but I'm going to play some music and I'm going to meet you back when I'm done. Okay, I'm back. Just about done here, finishing up, just doing a darker shade of green here on her dress, just to give it a little bit more contrast and a little bit more volume. And once I finish her up, I will die cut these images out with the pencil and matching dies, which I've already gone ahead and done here. You can see the matching dies right there, and the sweet little girl and little boy die cut out. Really cute with their oversized pencils. So now we're moving on to the technique finally. And this is the letter substitution technique. So I have my stamped background panel already loaded into my MISTI here, and I have my acetate grid in as well. And I'm using my acetate grid now just to help me get my letters straight. I pulled off all the letters to create my sentiment, which I'm going to say thank you, except for, if you've noticed, I didn't pull an N or a Y. I'm going to use the boy and girl that I stamped and colored as a substitute for the letters. I really love this technique because it's such a great way to stretch your critters or your people or your image stamps. I mean, you could even do flowers and things, images like that. It doesn't have to be just critters or people. It's a great way to stretch it so you're not just always creating scenes. Now you're incorporating them into your sentiment. And what I love about this set is that they're holding pencils, which kind of looks like they almost have written out the sentiment themselves. So I just think it's so cute. I couldn't resist. I have done this technique before, but I couldn't resist doing it with these new stamps. There's a lot of the hello stamps that would be great for this as well. There's some cute little people in that set as well that would be great to spell out hello. I just love this idea. So check out I hope it helps you to look at your critters or your people stamps a little bit differently, and maybe think about incorporating them into your sentiments by using them instead of some letter, especially if the figure or animal or person looks sort of like the letter. So right now I went ahead and adhered the panel onto my card base, the top folding A2 card base. I have added foam tape to the back of the boy and girl, and I went and pulled the backing off, and now I'm just sticking them down. And you can see how my girl doesn't look exactly like an N, my boy doesn't look exactly like a Y, but because they're close enough, and they resemble they're about the same size of the letters too. I think that is an important part. It helps if your images are about the same size of your letters. It suggests an N, it suggests a Y, and you can read it. It's legible, or it's, legible. I hope you guys enjoyed today's technique. If you want any more information on the product I use, please visit waffleflower.com, and you can follow us on YouTube, Instagram, and Facebook for more creative ideas. Thanks for watching. Have a wonderful day.